Okay. So today, let's open up with questions about Chapter 6.
0.
Nothing.
I was actually pretty confident with this because it's so much too.
We've spent so much time going over this.
But
I think everything's pretty good except for 6, 8.
Okay.
Did I?
Just said
Yeah, I
6,
did
8.
2 days ago. I can't remember things I did 2 days ago. Oof.
I feel like I had a really good understanding of this chapter because I had to, I was kind of forced to really dive in and thoroughly understand it before I could get the homework done.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So you were forced to pay attention.
Yeah.
It's not like you shouldn't be paying attention
Fully.
on any normal day.
I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on 6-9 because it's
Are we reviewing today?
dumb. Yes, we're also reviewing today.
Is it the final?
Well, that's fun.
Are you
What's
getting it
6-9?
the final next week?
Yes. But
Oh.
both Monday and Wednesday next week are just review.
Oh, so you're getting us the
Okay.
final Wednesday.
Yes.
Wait, is this handwriting polynomial functions?
Yes.
Or
it's finding,
hand graphing?
No, it's finding them.
Oh.
I don't know if you can.
That's what you do after college.
What?
Come on, make Duolingo isn't hard. Are
No.
we doing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's just the publisher. The author is Ron Larson. Mr. Math. Okay. Pink today. Pink. So, writing a cubic function. Yay! I think you guys did this with quadratics when Bill was here. And he showed you guys how to do it in the calculator. And didn't actually go through any work by hand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
When you showed us,
Fail.
was it
Polysmol
Yeah, that.
2.
Yeah.
I know how to find it.
Yeah.
Actually, didn't they have us use polysmelt in 6-7 or 6-8?
Oh.
I think they had us use
think
it for one or two things in some of the
You
end
didn't really
problems.
need it for chapter 6 because for chapter 6 you just literally
There's
graph the
one
function
question.
and then you just keep going from there.
When you get to calculus, you'll be able to graph any function that you're given by hand.
I look forward to that day.
It's a good day. Calculus is the best.
Sounds fun, but also complicated. But
It
also
is.
more fun than Algebra 2 because Algebra 2 is hard.
Well, dang it.
It's just a ratio of having better tools to more work. You can have better tools, but the old work is easy, so now you can do more work. So it'll make you do more work.
Okay. This is... I don't like most of this.
Me.
My
Okay.
teacher said flat.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know it's bad.
He
You know
doesn't
it's
like
bad,
it.
yeah.
We should just not do it.
That's a really good idea, Tori.
Wow. Revolutionary.
I do that way too much. My dad will say something
Wow.
wow. And he's just smart. You know? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Hey.
Okay. If you are given a list of this stuff, it's important to recognize that, first of all of these, the f of, whatever you're doing f of, that is the x value, right? Because that is the independent variable. That's the value that we plug into a function and do the math on in order to result in a y value. Everybody's okay with this? Okay. So we can make coordinates out of this. Like this would be 1, 1. This would be 2, 3, etc. Make sense? Yes, Jake?
Yeah.
All right, so for each one of these, this is the x and this is the corresponding y. So if you were given all of this information about a polynomial and you are told to find the polynomial, you have no idea what degree it is, right?
Yep.
So you're just given coordinates. You're not given any characteristics of the polynomial other than plug in these particular x's and you get these particular y's. But review from chapter 1, that is a way to define a polynomial. This is the domain 1 through 7, and this is the range 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 21, 28. There are multiple ways to show functions. You can show them as the function rule themselves, like f of x equals x squared. You can show the graph. You can show the input and the output values, or you can describe it, which is pointless. I mean, not pointless in general, because like if you get into astrophysics, then really you are just working off of being able to describe it and then going and trying to explicitly define it and stuff. But yes, good. But that last bit, that made sense? Okay, so yay! All right, so first thing that you want to do is try to figure out what degree this is. Everybody know exactly what I mean when I say degree and what degree this is and why I want to find that.
It's the highest power.
Yes. And the highest power is what determines what shape the function is, what characteristics it will have, that kind of thing. Okay? And we group them in families by this degree, this degree, this degree. So to find out what degree it is, I'm going to analyze this data a little bit by looking for differences. So the difference here is 2. Because 3 minus 1 is 2. What is 6 minus 3? 3.
Sorry, I was yawning, so
No, that's okay.
really quiet.
10 minus 6?
4.
Excellent. 15 minus 10? 21 minus 15? Okay.
Probably 6.
7. Okay. If these had been constant differences, then this would have been a linear function. Does that make sense? Because linear functions have constant rates of increase, meaning they have a slope. Every single time that y or x changes, y can only change by multiplication, like 2 times bigger than that. Does that make sense? We have y equals 3x plus 1. When x is 1, y is 4. When x is 2, y becomes 7. When x is 3, 10. See how each time there's a difference of 3 in between these numbers, which is the slope? Y values, slope, difference. That makes sense? Justin's good. How about everybody else in the room? Good?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because this is not constant, I know that it isn't a linear function. Looking here then, what's 3 minus 2?
1.
4 minus 3?
1.
5 minus 4? Everybody!
1.
Yeah! 6 minus 5? 7 minus 6?
1.
Okay. So, now that I've gotten to a constant difference, I know that this is going to be a quadratic. Because going from here to here is 1 step. And that means if this had been constant here, it would have been a linear function of degree of 1. But because it took me 2 steps of doing this to get to a constant difference, that means that the degree is 2. Does that make sense? So now I would know that I would need to use 3 points because the standard form of a quadratic equation has 3 unknowns. So I would need to build 3 equations to solve for 3 unknowns. So I need to use 3 points, plug those in. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 6. Get a system of equations, solve them. That's going to tell me my polynomial. that make sense? Do you want me to actually do the work? Okay.
So, wait, in this case, you would just be plugging in the x value of each of those points in for x, right? And then,
Equals 1. So, 1, or let me start with the x. A times 1 squared plus b times 1 plus c equals 1 from here. 1's for all my x's, 1 for my y. And this one, a times 2 squared plus b times 2 plus c equals 3. 2 for my x's, 3 for my y. And then this one, a times 3 squared plus b times 3 plus 3c plus c equals 6. 3 for my x's, 6 for my y. Okay. So then simplifying, a plus b plus c equals 1. 4a plus 2b plus c equals 3. 9a plus 3b plus c equals 6. Anybody confused yet? Not that you will be confused imminently. Maybe by the word imminently. I'm not sure how many of you know what that means.
for here, then we would just start trying to combine equations and get them smaller, right?
Yes, Justin. I'm very proud of you right now. In fact, have some points.
Thank you. I'm just trying to make sure I remember all these processes after being gone for like 4 weeks.
That's what I want you to do. I'm so proud of you right now. Here, I don't even know how many's going to be in this little pile, but here's some.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
That's like a letter grade in points that you just gave me, I think.
Well done. Okay.
Wow.
I had a doctor's appointment before this, and it went well. As in, she's going to certify my dogs as therapy dogs, so that dog requirements for like apartments won't apply to me, so I get to keep them. So that was made me very happy.
You can take them places.
I can, but they're not well behaved.
Oh.
So they have to go to training to get certified?
No, they're psychiatric service dogs, which means that they are trained specifically to assist me with things like anxiety, depression, OCD. They're therapeutic for that, and I need them for that. So I can take them out in public legally, but that's not going to be a good idea.
Wouldn't be very
That's not what
kosher.
they're for. So, but yeah, I get to keep my baby.
I saw this video of this lady. She's really funny. She was like walking into Walmart with my dog. And she had like these really dark sunglasses on and like this little Yorkie. She was like, "It's my seeing eye dog." I was like,
Oh my god.
wow.
Do you know there is actually no certification process that is like mandated. So
You can just say it's like a service dog or a therapy dog or a emotional support
and
dog,
they're,
and they can't
by
really say
law,
anything.
they're not allowed to ask you why.
Yeah.
They cannot say, what's your disability?
Yeah.
So it's like this gray area.
Mm-hmm.
They can, like if it's a landlord or something, they can kind of ask for documentation, but what kind of documentation do you have to provide if you aren't legally required to disclose what your disability is?
Can they do that for cats?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, the actual American with Disabilities Act of like 1976 says you can do it with any animal.
Birds.
Oh, there.
Oh my gosh.
Horses.
Birds.
It's a
Seriously.
therapy horse.
It even said things like bearded dragons.
Therapy horse.
Free
Just
therapy
hanging
horse.
out in your apartment.
This is my therapy snake. What? It's
You got a little
thing.
coral
You're
snake.
You know
gonna
what
see
would be
Phil
very
watching
therapeutic
Consume Life
is
Play.
a sloth. Having a
Therapy
sloth
sloth.
would be the best thing ever.
In certain states, you
Or
can
flash.
have a two-toed sloth, right?
I don't know.
I
But
think there's
how-
like,
You know what? Sloths are probably impossible to potty train.
oh
be
yeah.
realistic.
Oh, that's true.
Because if you
Or
feel
get
the
a
urge,
monkey instead.
Well, sloths
think
wear
you can
diapers
wait.
actually if they're in captivity.
okay.
What?
I've actually seen that before
That's
because
Great.
they're too slow.
I saw a gorilla eat its poop straight out of he
That's-
couldn't wait long enough.
That's
Oh,
disgusting.
He just
God.
reached
That's
around
disgusting.
at the zoo and was like, "Oh, there's still some leaves in here."
Oh, okay, wow. Wow.
You know, like when you eat corn.
That's so gross.
This is on recording.
This is recording.
Oh.
This
You're
is live
gonna like-
streaming.
You're gonna go back
So-
later and just
Yeah,
maybe like
switch
cut
colors.
a little bit of stuff.
All of a sudden it skips and I'm over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were we talking about one time? I actually did edit it out. I don't remember.
What? Really?
Yes, it was something like stupid and very.
You mean
I
like
don't think I've ever said anything like age inappropriate because I don't think that way or anything, but it was
Yeah.
something just like, I don't want this on the internet! You know, like bathroom time talks or something like that.
Uber bathroom?
Okay, like that.
Let's combine some equations.
Or like when I said something like, I'm pretty sure I shave my legs, but when I walk it feels like a windy meadow.
Yeah.
Oh
That
my
too.
gosh.
Cut.
Just full disclosure, right? We're a close group.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, so
At least you're not like my mom when she pees the door open.
I don't want to know that, Tori!
hey, Fluffy.
It's disgusting.
So why?
But, well, let's be realistic for me. I live alone now with the dogs.
Oh yeah, you
they
do
don't
whatever you
care.
want.
Oh yeah, at that point, it's just like, why not?
But like if you got
Why
kids,
even bother closing the door? Seriously. Wasted effort.
I could do that with my
Exactly.
cat, but like, weird.
Unless you don't want the dogs to like come up to you.
And they
Just-
seriously do.
They want to give you company while you're going through a hard time in the bathroom.
They're clingy. They go everywhere I go. It's really awkward sometimes when I'm like, I need to turn around now, but you're right here. So, like, anyways, okay. So I'm going to multiply this by -1 to get -4a minus 2b minus c equals -3. Combining these two equations, I get -3a minus b equals -2. Does anybody have any questions review-wise about this process whatsoever? Yes.
Could we just use the calculator for it? Like I know how to do it on there, like I swear I do. But like in theory, could we use this?
If I put problems like this on the test, I will specify whether or not I want you to use the calculator. So you should be prepared for both ways.
It doesn't seem like there's much of a point to use a calculator for that, though. I mean, it's not
It's not,
particularly
like,
hard,
hard,
to do on
but, like-
paper, right?
Yeah.
So,
Now I'm going to use this equation that I've already found and combine it with this one to get rid of my c again, because I know that since I now have an equation with 2 variables, I need a second equation to solve for the 2 variables. I need to make sure that it has the same 2 variables or I'm just going in circles pointlessly. So, -4a minus 2b minus c equals -3. I'm going to combine that with 9a plus 3b plus c equals 6. And so 5a plus b equals 3. Questions? Excellent. I feel like one of those lifeline people. What are they called? Like the first responders that do like rescue paratroopers and stuff.
oh,
The lifeline. What's that called? Life flight.
I don't know.
My cousin wants to be one of those nurses. When you have to be helicoptered somewhere,
and then you go out and take
Oh.
care of, like,
people that are like
Stuck
acutely
in the
on the brink
bathroom.
of death,
Yeah.
or like in a canyon and they had to cut their arm off to get loose, stuff like that.
I don't think I would ever want to do that.
So I feel like one of those people right now. I'm like, I'm not gonna lose you. Hold on. Going through all these math steps.
I don't think it's that dramatic, but you know.
That's just how I think. Excellent. Okay. So now I have two equations, two variables, and oh look, one positive b, one negative b.
How
I don't even
convenient.
Need to change these
Wow.
equations. I can just combine them as is and get 2a equals 1. So a is 1/2. Ooh, good.
It's cool.
Made it.
Everybody's fine.
So then you
So then we plug in A.
So then we
Right.
plug in a.
Yeah.
2. Unfortunately, both of these are odd, so we know we're going to be dealing with fractions. The 2 won't cancel. So I'm just going to pick the positive one. 5/2, because 5 times 1/2 is 5/2. Plus b equals 3. I'm going to write 3 as 6/2 because I already know that I'm going to need a common denominator. Does that make sense? I'm not going to lose you. Hang on. Okay. So then subtracting 5/2 from both sides, b is also 1/2.
And then we can plug them both into a big one and get C.
I'm going to plug them into this one because I know my 2's are going to cancel. So I have 4 times 1/2 plus 2 times 1/2 plus C equals 3. So 4/2 is 2, 2/2 is 1, plus C equals 3. So 3 plus C equals 3, C equals 0. So f of x equals 1/2 x squared plus 1/2 x. And that's how to do it.
That's the whole of 6/9.
Yeah, that's all it teaches you to do. It just does this with different. If it took you 3 steps to find a common difference, then it would be a cubic.
You got to do 4 equations
Right.
with 4 variables and
Because-
solve it all the way down and then all the way back.
Yeah, you're always going to
Just
start
like-
with a as your leading coefficient. So if it's a cubic and you want the standard form, it's going to be ax squared cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d.
Okay.
So then you would need to solve for a, b, c, and d. And you would need 4 equations like you said.
So when you're figuring out which of the coordinates to plug into the equation, it's always just the first ones.
No, it can be whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
I just picked the first ones because they were smaller numbers and I'm dealing with exponents. So I don't want you guys to get lost when I start doing things like cubing 11.
Oof.
It's really not that bad.
It's 121 times 11.
Pretty sure it's 1331. I think. I don't know.
I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Okay. Questions about 6/9?
Nada.
Okay.
No, we just
So, I think so. I just want to make sure that there's nothing I missed. So, when it says properties of finite differences on page 381, it's got that table. That's saying in very fancy math speak what I explained as however many steps it takes you to find a common difference, the same number of steps is the degree. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you, Isabel, for your participation. Here's some points. So you're the only one listening to that question.
I said
I'm
yes.
listening.
Well,
Thank you.
I'll pass them out for other things too. Okay. Yay!
Yay!
May I use the restroom?
Yes.
Thank you.
That was very proper English. Here's a point.
Wow.
Proper English.
Wow. So enthusiastic.
You good?
Oh, here's a sympathy point.
Oh, sympathy.
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Finals are coming up.
Actually, it really hurt my arm.
We need it. Actually,
Thanks for laughing at my joke, Jake. Here's a point.
No problem.
Oh, we got his points.
Oh, it's like a white one. It's cream.
no, that one's not as good though. It's not printed, but it's still a point, so you know.
Okay.
Please
So,
let me release the love him. Little ugly duckling.
chapter
And it's
review.
small.
He's unique.
He's
Okay.
celebrating his differences.
I think I'm just going to give you guys the homework and you can start on it and ask me any questions that you have
Okay.
instead of like reviewing on the board. Then we only have to review what you need to.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about this?
Bueno.
Can we do Monday and Wednesday for review?
Monday and Wednesday is also review. I'm not like, you don't have to leave. You can sit here and do the homework, and if you have a question with it, I'll do it on the board.
Okay.
Instead of sending you on your way at home to do it and then come back in with questions retroactively, we'll just do them as you have
What is
questions.
the homework?
So the homework is page 388.
You okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Fine. I was going to say something more positive than okay, but really, I'm just okay. Okay, page 388. One through 24.
All?
That's it?
Yay.
That's a little homework for the week.
Yeah. Because next week we start comprehensive review.
Like the big stuff.
Do we not have homework next week, or is it like reviewing and studying?
I haven't decided yet. The homework that I would give you would be reviewing and studying. So I haven't decided yet if it would be beneficial to you guys if I gave you like that structure of this is what you need to specifically do to review, or if you guys could just do it on your own. Does that make sense?
Can you give us like not like homework, but like give us what you think we should review?
Yeah,
what
like a study guide?
Yeah.
I will do that. Okay. Super boring class. So if you get on your homework, then let me know the questions you have.
Okay. I'm not looking forward to this. I have the worst memory.
I'm the worst at math.
I think I'm going to stop streaming now since Sam asks me their questions individually.